In this episode, we're going to be looking at graphics cards and graphics interface technologies. First thing I'm going to do is remove the old AGP graphics card. This is actually an 8x AGP graphics card. Now, some graphics cards will have a little security clip at the back here. This is a fairly old card, so it does not have it. Now, when you take it off, you'll also notice there's a power connector sitting off the back here. I've already unplugged that, but some of these power connectors, especially on newer graphics cards, PCI Express graphics cards, actually connected directly to the power supply. So you just unplug the back power like that.
So let's chat a little bit about AGP versus PCI Express. PCI Express is the current and therefore the next generation graphics technology. We're talking about the upgrade. AGP is the old one that we've just taken out of.
Right. If you're upgrading a PC that's around 5 years old, most likely, 4 to 5 years old, most likely it's going to have an AGP card in it.
Yes.
That was the end of the line for AGP graphics. When you're upgrading, when you're going into a shop to buy a new system or upgrade your system, even if you just want to upgrade your graphics card, most likely you're not going to be able to.
Yeah, they'll ask you, do you have an AGP slot or a PCI Express slot?
Doesn't mean you can't get AGP graphics cards anymore. You can, but they're usually slower versions of PCI Express graphics cards. They're bottlenecked. The reason they're bottlenecked is because of the bandwidth available to PCI Express versus AGP.
Yeah, AGP 8 ended with 2 gigabits per second maximum data transfer rate.
Right.
PCI Express 2 is 0.5 gigabits per second per lane.
So that's a total of a 16-lane card like we have here, a total of 8 gigabits per second.
Yeah.
That's a lot of data.
If you think of AGP 8 times at 2 gigabits per second as, a hose, and that's what can go down to, you've got to think of PCI Express in terms of lanes. So there's 16 lanes going down there. Each of them carries 0.5. So
it's a lot of data.
There's also a physical difference between an AGP card and a PCI Express card.
I've got in my hand a HIS ATI Radeon 4850 HD.
I've also got a 4850, this one's by Gigabyte. But if you have a look here, you'll notice that the actual connector on the AGP card is quite different to the one on the PCI Express card.
And these are two different manufacturer cards. They're both the same identical cards as far as their specifications are concerned. You look over on the back here, all the serial number stickers, everything is identical.
So the other thing that PCI Express has brought is the new feature of SLI and Crossfire, of the ability to have more than one card in a system at a time.
Multi-GPU rendering.
Yeah, which can be multi-GPU on the video card itself or multi-GPU by having more than one video card.
On the software side of things, it uses the same type of technology. So you do need programming on your game or within the drivers to support SLI to give you the extra performance. Now, Windows XP supports SLI.
Yeah.
If you want to go more, as in three-way SLI, you need Windows Vista.
So John actually found this really old card up on the shelf before.
It's not that old. This is like one of the first multi-GPU cards. And it's even got, so it was one of the first cards to come out with a power connector at the back as well.
SLI is NVIDIA's technology. Crossfire is ATI's. You can see that there is a connector on the top there. The two cards actually communicate with one another as well as to the rest of the system via the bus on the motherboard.
It basically plugs between the two graphics cards like that when they actually fit in the motherboard. So now they can communicate with each other using Crossfire's technology. Now, just because you've got two graphics cards in SLI doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get double the performance. You've got other limitations like the CPU, the memory, the bus, everything else which is playing part of the overall gaming or system graphics performance. So you can get SLI, but expect about 25 to 30% performance increase if the application has been optimized for SLI or Crossfire.
And the other thing to note is that SLI does have a limitation that you can't have two monitors. But I guess the good thing about SLI is that if you buy an SLI board, you get one card when you can afford it. 6 months later, great, I can get the other card, I can afford it now. You get an instant performance boost.
Service and support is extremely important, so make sure the card you're buying has a decent service package for where you live. GTX 260, it's a super overclocked edition or OC edition graphics card.
Right.
So that's another thing you might want to look for when purchasing a graphics card. So you might get two identical cards as far as the same chipset or the same GPU. But one may be overclocked and the other one isn't. And what an overclocked card is basically a cherry-picked GPU and RAM and they overclock it beyond the specifications of the manufacturer, which is NVIDIA.
For example, like these ATI cards, the GPU can actually run higher than what the specification is on the card.
It's old school overclocking, yeah.
Yeah, this is, they've produced it at a safe level. When they're actually being manufactured, as John says, they cherry pick the ones that are capable of running at a higher clock speed safely.
So this card has a different GPU, different brand, so made from NVIDIA, not ATI.
Yes.
And it's a little bit bigger. It's a multi-slot PCI Express card, so it takes up more than one slot. Doesn't actually, not physical slot, but just space in your case, basically. Takes up two spaces there for the cooling solution, which is extremely hefty. Now, on the top as well, the other thing you'll notice is this particular card has two power connectors.
Whereas this one only has one.
If you got this type of card, make sure you got the two power connectors, otherwise you have to use power adapters.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to go for SLI, because with FLI you have 4 power connectors for your graphics cards.
You actually need to buy a PSU that specifically is built for SLI.
This is a GTX 280 from MSI. So it's a faster card, the GPU is running at faster speeds, it has more RAM.
However,
but physically they are identical size. The same cooling solution on both cards, the same amount of power requirements. This particular card probably would use a little bit more power than that card as well.
Yeah, but I mean essentially the design of the card itself is the same, the GPU on board is different and the RAM.
Now, as far as graphics cards is concerned, in the market at the moment, this is one of the top performing cards in a single GPU solution.
So I mean basically your best bet for an upgrade is the mid-range card where you've got value for money, and go for an overclocked or OC version and try and find one that's on sale and at a similar price as the non-OC version, then you've got the best bang for your buck.